All right, so now we're going to talk about if you did the plot pyramid plan style, how you can turn that into a draft. I'm just going to demonstrate with like 1 or 2 paragraphs how you can do that. The main thing I'm going to be demonstrating are steps 1 and 2. We're not going to do step 3 right now. That's for a future video where we look at a mentor text and determine how that's going to inspire us to and influence us to jazz up the voice and style of our own writing. But for now, we're just going to look at how you can label your plan. So you're going to do some writing on top of the plan that you already made to kind of determine groups and paragraphs and the order, which the good news is number 2 is pretty much done for you because you already opted to do a plot pyramid, and the plot pyramid is sequential, right? But now we need to take a look at how we can make paragraphs out of the plan that you've created. So this is the plot pyramid that I created before for the story about me losing my dog after I had a baby. So as I said before, this is already in sequence, in order, because I already thought through that when I wrote these down on the parts of the plot pyramid. Because remember, the first part is the exposition, which is the setting, the character introduction, that sort of thing. What do we need to know about all of that so the reader can understand what's going on before you get started. This is where the first sort of action happens. Then you have all your rising action leading up to the climax, which is when I found my dog, and then everything that happened after that, and then sort of the lesson. Okay, so I've already put it in order, in sequence. But what's not clear is what paragraphs. I don't think I can make a paragraph out of each of these ideas. I think those would be very puny paragraphs. Maybe I could, and maybe as I'm writing, I think, oh, I could add some details here that would make this an interesting paragraph of its own, but I had already decided to group it up. What you want to focus on right now is just getting these ideas into sentences and paragraphs, and don't worry about them being perfect at all, because later on, during revision and editing, but mostly revision, that's where you're going to look at, okay, how do I want to change how I clumped these together before? Okay, but first you have to have something to work with. So the bottom line is don't be afraid to make mistakes. So if this is all my exposition, which is mostly about introducing my dog, okay, that's probably going to be its own paragraph. So I'm using a trackpad and a laptop to do this, so it's going to look bad. So don't judge me. But you can do this with a highlighter or pen, pencil, whatever, on your own plan. So this is going to be my first paragraph. And I might find later on that I want to add in more paragraphs of exposition where I describe my house and gives the reader some details about something else that I think would be important. That might grow to be more than 1 paragraph, but for now, I'm thinking this is going to be 1 paragraph. The next thing I put is that I have a baby and that the dog tends to wake up the baby. Okay, and then so I start leaving him outside more often. Let's say I think I'm going to group these 2 together into the second paragraph. And I think the idea of my husband returning to work and then the dog getting lost, I think I could probably group those together into the 3rd paragraph. Now again, I might change my mind later as I'm writing or as I'm revising. That's okay. So I had the climax as finding my dog, and then I had the falling action as I kiss him and apologize to him profusely because I left him outside and forgot about him. I wonder if I can make these all 1 paragraph. It would be a big beefy paragraph. And again, I might change this later, but for now I'm going to say this could all be 1 paragraph. That'd be the 4th paragraph. And then I kind of have the lesson learned where I learn to never forget about my dog because he was my first child. Okay, let's call that paragraph 5. I don't know if I can even make this all its own paragraph. Maybe that belongs with this, but that's okay. I'm going to go with my instincts for now. because I have a plan of attack. I'm going to get this down into sentences and paragraphs. And then once I have that clay to mold. Then during revision, I will mold that clay and refine it and shape it into something that I like better. So now that I have a plan, I'm going to work on just turning this one little idea into its own paragraph. And all I have written here, it's kind of cut off, so it's hard for you to see. But all it says is, Chomp Chomp is my energetic dog, requires lots of attention. So I'm going to turn that into a full paragraph. So let's look at how I can do that. If I want to start with an interesting hook or whatever, I might say, my first child was my dog, Chomp Chomp, because it's kind of a funny way to start the story. Now don't stress too much about creating an interesting hook. You can always go back and add that later. Just work on turning that information into sentences and paragraphs. Now, all I had to work with was Chomp Chomp is my energetic dog who requires lots of attention. And I want to turn that into a paragraph the best I can. So I'm trying to beef it up a little bit. My first child was my dog Chomp Chomp. Chomp Chomp. And I might add in a funny detail like, who I did not name, because I'm always embarrassed when I tell people my dog's name. So I always like to tell them, I did not name him, is a super energetic dog. So maybe I'll add a sentence that kind of describes how energetic he is. Often when visitors I wind up apologizing profusely as he jumps all over them and showers them with unwanted kisses. He is very loving and very needy. Now I'm getting to the last idea, that he requires a lot of attention. Chomp Chomp requires a lot of attention, and when he doesn't get it, he finds, we'll say, naughty ways to entertain himself. I think that kind of is a nice preview or foreshadowing to the idea that he's going to escape, because I know that that's where my story is going to wind up, that he runs off because he gets ignored for too long. So I included a little foreshadowing there. Now that's how I turned, get back here. That's how I turned just this one little part, this one little bullet point into a full paragraph. Now, if you're doing this and you're not able to think that far ahead to add, like I did, some foreshadowing or some little funny bits, don't worry about that. Or a hook, don't worry. Even if it's a very small paragraph, if it's only a couple or 3 sentences, that's okay, because you have something to work with. As I said in a future video, I'm going to show you how to go into what you've already written and add more interesting details and maybe move the order of your ideas around, take things out that you wind up not liking. That's okay. We're going to make all those decisions later. Right now, all I want you to focus on is turning this visual into text, into full complete sentences and paragraphs. So I've only done the first part for you. So you should have, or you should your next steps are to draw on this on your own plot pyramid, just like I did. circle ideas and label them so that you know how your paragraphs are going to be grouped, and then start creating paragraphs.